Thank you for your kind words, sir. And at the outset, I'd like to thank the Atlas Society and Praveen for inviting me here today. This is what I'm going to speak about: approach to short stature, a perspective of how, what, when, and whom, and why, not only for the pediatrician, but also for the physician and the general practitioner. Please feel free to interrupt me whenever you don't follow any of the slides, because growth is usually a fairly complex thing. And we generally tend to speak a lot about growth charts. So at any point of time, if you don't understand, please stop. This is how we are going to proceed with the talk. One, I'll give you a brief overview of growth disorders, a case scenario so that we can understand better how to evaluate, what do you measure and check, when should you refer, why should you refer, and to whom should you refer. And at the end of the talk, I'll have a few clinical pictures which will make this talk all the more interesting. As far as growth is concerned, I think it is one of the most common complaints in the pediatric OP. Parents keep telling us, my child is not growing. Sometimes they are justified, sometimes they are not justified. But the last 2 decades, we've had tremendous advances in diagnosis, especially hormonal endocrinology. Genetics have started increasing day by day, and also therapy. Growth hormone since 85. After the initial problem we had with Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease and cadaveric growth hormone, recombinant human growth hormone has become widely available, even though we still have cost constraints today. Tremendous awareness is there among parents and among doctors about it, but we have limited legitimate subspecialty support, and a lot of the guidelines, even if you look at the Lawson-Wilkins guidelines, the European guidelines, they are really confusing. And this is where the confusion starts. You got something which is known as oxological criteria, which is derived from the Greek oxos for growth. Basically, if you look at the criteria, the typical criteria to define severe short stature is a height standard deviation score less than -3 standard deviations. But basically, whenever you measure height, it consists of two components. One, what is the child's present height? The second is the height velocity, or the speed at which he is growing. If either the height is slow or if the child is not growing fast enough, under both situations he can be labeled short. So the second one looks at that severe growth deceleration, a height velocity of less than 2 standard deviations over the last 1 year. Or it can be a combination of both, where you have a height less than 2 standard deviations and a height velocity less than -1 standard deviation over 1 month. Here the height is lower, the height velocity decrease is slightly lesser. Or where you have the height is okay, only less than -1 standard deviation, but the height velocity has slowed down a lot over the past 2 years. So you have a mix and match of both height and height velocity as far as oxological criteria is concerned. And how do you get to these oxological criteria? So what are the various non-endocrine causes of growth? The first thing you have to consider whenever you look at a child is, the child is probably normal, and you have variations of the normal. There can be either an entity known as constitutional delay in growth and puberty, where the children don't grow well for the first few years of life. They start growing rapidly only, they hit their puberty slightly later, sometime around 14 to 15 years of age, and they grow later, they grow slowly. They finally do come within the range of the target height, but they're always towards the lower range of the target height. Familial short stature, a lot of times till a few years ago when children had familial short stature, we were not evaluating them because we generally assume the parents are short, so the child is likely to be short. But since endocrine genetics and its awareness has increased over the past few years, we are realizing that a lot of short parents actually had some growth hormone disorder of their own, and they have transmitted it to their child, and the child does deserve treatment, and if treated, they are likely to grow. So even though we consider familial short stature a variation of the normal, we have to see how short they really are. If the familial short stature is really very severe, that means there is some other cause rather than nutrition or just plain simple short stature and racial short stature, and it could very well be the harbinger of a growth disorder. Any chronic disease, for that matter, growth is a symptom. It's just a symptom, like you have fever in any infection. Just the same way, even if you have a cardiovascular disorder, a respiratory disorder, a renal disorder, any kind of anemia, thalassemia, or for that matter, hepatic or gastrointestinal disorder, you are more likely to have short stature. Malnutrition is perhaps the commonest cause of short stature. Up to 50 to 60% of all cases of short stature can be attributed to nutritional causes. Intrauterine growth retardation is again a fairly common cause which is often missed. That can be because of a genetic reason, it can be because of malnutrition. And more often than not, if it is because of malnutrition, the children do tend to catch up within 2 years of life. If they do not catch up by the end of 2 years of birth, then it is very unlikely that they are going to catch up and they need further help, usually in the form of growth hormone therapy. Skeletal causes like skeletal dysplasias, osteogenesis imperfecta, osteochondrodysplasias, more often than not they present with disproportionate short stature, where you have good growth of the trunk and not so much growth of the upper and the lower limbs. Lysosomal storage disorders, again they come under the head of chronic disease. Mucopolysaccharidosis and mucolipidosis, and the other problem we have with this is whenever you have a liver disorder, the basic growth which is affected in the body is not actually caused by growth hormone. Growth hormone has very few direct effects. A majority of the effects of growth hormone are mediated by the formation of insulin-like growth factor 1 in the liver. And this is the place where you have problems with liver disorders, where the levels of IGF-1 are very low. The effector molecule is low, and that is the reason why they suffer from severe short stature.